The Nothing Phone 3 is different. So first, let's start off with the design. The design isn't really that good. Not gonna lie, it's just scattered. Like one of the cameras is like just off to the side, and it kind of just looks like a Lego Star Wars set built by a little kid. When you first look at it, it kind of looks like a prototype. But I guess that doesn't mean that the durability isn't good, considering it is Nothing's first ever flagship smartphone. So it's different. When I say it's different, I don't just mean in the design, because Nothing has always been more of a design company disguised as a tech company. You get what I mean? So they always focus on their designs more than a lot of these other tech companies do. Since it is Nothing's flagship phone, their first one, they made a couple improvements to it. For example, it has an aluminum frame, and it finally has IP68 dust and water resistance. That's common in flagships, you get what I mean? So at least they just amped that stuff up. Even though it's a flagship that actually starts at $799, it still has Gorilla Glass 7i, which is definitely not as strong as the Victus 2 glass that's usually present on the S25 phone. So it's more of like a mid-range glass. It's not like flagship. It basically compares to the S25 and the iPhone 16, because all three phones start at $799. So it may be Nothing's flagship phone, but technically it's more of a base phone when you look at other companies. And when you compare the three of them, some stuff is better in the Nothing Phone 3 and some stuff is worse. Well, not worse, some stuff is just bad. Now, the glyph matrix. This is what most people are going to be talking about. The second screen that's on the back of the Nothing phone, and it's basically responsible for the design language on the back, because they had to move some stuff around. Maybe that's why the camera's a little offset, which I'm just guessing here because I'm just trying to make the situation better, because not gonna lie, I like the other Nothing phone designs better than this one. So I'm just making up some sort of an excuse. But I'm pretty sure we all know it's not the second screen on the back that's causing this scattered design. But they call it the glyph matrix, and it's kind of useless. No more LED strips, since those things have basically been on the back of Nothing's phones to communicate a message without you having to pick it up and like just completely get distracted in the modern phone world. So there's not much you can communicate with LED lights. So now they added 489 individual LEDs to the back of the phone to communicate in a more advanced way. But we've seen second screens on the back of phones in the past, and a lot of these phone companies, they did it better than Nothing. It also doubles as a flashlight, which is not as bright as a normal flashlight that you'll usually find on a phone. And there's also this very tiny red light kind of near it's lower than the second screen, the glyph matrix, and basically it lets you know, and not just you, other people, when you're recording. So if somebody's looking at your phone, goodbye to the excuse of, oh, I'm just holding it up, I'm not recording, or anything like that. Goodbye to that excuse, because that red light is basically like an indicator light. So the glyph matrix, what is it? It's supposed to let the phone give you these updates without you having to flip it over. So if you get a notification, it'll have this little animation. There's these little toys that you can play around with, this secret button that's like under there, like in the back. And then basically those toys, I mean, it's kind of interactive. There's even spin the bottle, but let's be completely honest, who's gonna play spin the bottle with a phone? You don't have a bottle or something? I don't know. It can show the battery percentage, and Nothing says they're gonna update it so that you can have this little preview of if your mom's calling you, 489 LEDs are gonna be trying to communicate or like to show you your mom's face or something like that, which is probably not going to look as good. Right now, it does serve as a preview for your camera. So if you want to have an idea of what your face looks like in your camera, like the angle, you can look at that, and it's going to help in a way, which is just a step down from flip phones and fold phones. Because if you don't know, I'm pretty sure most of us have guessed this by now, because fold phones have two screens, high quality screens, on the front and back of the phone, or you could say the outside and the inside, you can unfold it, and then instead of using the actual selfie camera, you can just use the back cameras as a selfie camera, and then the outer screen, the screen most of us are probably going to be using, that can serve as a preview. You get what I mean? So Nothing is kind of like trying to achieve this without actually having to add more to the phone. I'm going to talk more about the glyph matrix in another video, and it's actually going to be a series. I'm going to start this series called The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. So this is the Nothing phone is going to be the first topic in that series, and it's going to be a whole playlist on my channel. And basically I'm going to talk about this glyph matrix, and I'm pretty sure, you know, I wouldn't say it's going to go in the ugly section, but I'll say it goes in the bad section, because I mean, some stuff is useful, some stuff isn't. In most cases, the glyph matrix is so useless, you might as well just get distracted and flip over your phone at this point. Okay, so now let's talk about specs. So as for performance, it can have up to 12 gigs to 16 gigs of RAM compared to the 12 gigs on the S25 Plus, and that's definitely a lot more. So, but the GPU isn't as good. So if you're that type of person who plays high intense games, this phone just cross it out. It's not really good for that. 256 gigs of storage and the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 versus the Snapdragon 8 Elite on the S25 series phones. So definitely performance is just way down there. Once again, the chip, the same way the glass was like mid-range, it's just mid-range. Nothing has always made budget phones, so like I said, technically this is their first flagship, but then when you compare this flagship to other flagships, it's more like a mid-ranger compared to them. The battery definitely outperforms the iPhone 16 and the S25 Plus. It has a 5,150 milliamp hour battery compared to 4,000 on the S25. So finally something that's just better. And it has 65 watt charging compared to 25 watt on the S25 and iPhone 16. So at least that's finally something that's better. But when you actually compare the battery life and stuff like that, you get around the same time. So in the end, it doesn't really matter. The display is actually the same pixel density as the iPhone 16, so you don't really have to worry about that. So the display is just iPhone's S25 level, so you're not getting undercut in that. And the display itself is actually 6.6 inches. Now, as for the camera, every single camera, which is 4 cameras, 3 back cameras, and 1 selfie, every single camera is 50 megapixel. We've definitely seen this before in other phones, and the quality, you can't really say it's good. It's more like same thing, mid-range, but it's not bad at the same time. You'll be satisfied. Most people will be satisfied, unless you're a professional cameraman and you just like to take photos on your phone. Because with phones, like I said, I've said this before, phones, DSLR cameras and other professional cameras are almost obsolete in normal use cases. And that's for the operating system. It's unique. You can't really say it's bad and you can't really say it's good. It's not mid-range either. It's just Nothing's operating system. The same way how they really focus on design in their physical phone, it kind of feels like Google's OS, Android, and it doesn't offer much, but then it's not lacking in features at the same time. That was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. The next video is most likely going to be on the S25 Edge. I know I'm late, but like I said, I wasn't posting for a good while, and I'm sorry. And I didn't say this before, but I'm actually very happy to see everybody. I'm finally happy to be back, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. So I'll see you in the next one, which, like I said, will probably be S25 Edge video. Peace.